Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Friday, January 16th, 2004. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we do invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on our cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. Colleagues, it is 10:10 a.m. There are 8 members present, 2 shy of a quorum, but this being Friday, as you know, we have a number of special presentations and recognitions scheduled. I'd like to begin today's meeting by recognizing Councilmember Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I appreciate your indulgence in this matter. I stand here today with Roland Wiley and Steve Lewis from RAW International, and I will ask them when I'm done making my comments to introduce their colleagues. It's my pleasure to introduce RAW International and to bring them here today to celebrate their 20th anniversary, 20 years of successful practice here in the city of Los Angeles, providing professional services in the areas of programming, planning, design, and management. In addition to earning a reputation for design excellence over the years, the firm's 3 founding partners, all of whom happen to be African American, have played a significant role in the shaping of our city. RAW's portfolio of projects encompasses a diversity of project types executed for noteworthy clients, including the California Science Center for the California Museum of Science and Industry, the Los Angeles City Hall seismic upgrade for the city of Los Angeles, the Gateway Center at Union Station, the Central Avenue Village Streetscape Enhancement Project for the Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles. RAW has been a downtown stakeholder since 1987, having occupied space in the Pacific Center building directly over the Water Grill restaurant and in its current location overlooking Pershing Square from the 19th floor of the City National Bank Tower. RAW's client base expanded as well to include Pacific Design Center, Pacific Bell, Kaiser Permanente, Spike Lee, the City of Los Angeles, Magic Johnson Development, Manual Life, and countless others. RAW International shall continue to translate its collective passion for design excellence and creative problem solving into positive contributions to the built environment. The legacy that they have created and will continue to create has as much to do with being a role model for others as it does for leaving RAW's unique design signature on our landscape. With sustained vision, hard work, and above all, togetherness, RAW's quest will continue with equally high expectations for success well into the future. And I want to say happy anniversary and ask one of the principals to come up and say a few words.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Perry. Before I start, I'd like to introduce the third partner, Stephen Lott, who has been with us from the very beginning as well. It's quite a distinguished, and Stephen Stone is our CFO and has been with us, well, I can't remember that far back. 10 years. In any case, it's been a pleasure to be a stakeholder in the city of Los Angeles and to bring our unique vision to the table for some of the important work that's been done in that 20-year period, much of which Councilmember Perry has been a part of, to make this city a better place and to make it reflective of the diverse population that resides here within the city. To that end, we would like to make a presentation to Councilmember Perry, which is to the City of Los Angeles City Council, for your support, in particular in allowing us to have our 20th anniversary party in the Tom Bradley Room atop City Hall this past Friday night. It was an overwhelming event and a show of the support that we enjoy here in the city. So Councilmember Perry, on behalf of the partners.
We'll take a better one in a minute. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's go take a picture. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry. For our next presentation, let me call on Councilmember Zine.
two presentations this morning, and Mr. Robert Scott, if you'll please join me up here. Bob Scott. The first presentation goes to Robert L. Scott. Bob Scott, affectionately known, was born in the San Fernando Valley, Van Nuys, California, in should we tell people? Sure. 1946. Currently lives in West Hills, which means you are a constituent, a fine community that I represent. Bob Scott is the director of the Civic Center Group, a civic support group and public policy enterprise providing planning, research, information, and consulting services. He is the principal attorney of Scott & Associates, a law firm rated AV by Martindale Hubbell since 1980. Bob Scott has served as judge pro tem for the Los Angeles Superior Court, and in addition to the California and federal bars, is admitted to practice before the United States Supreme Court. In 1999, he was the recipient of the San Fernando Valley Bar's highest honor, the Stanley Lintz Award for service to the community and to the legal profession. Bob Scott was honored by the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA, with the Harmon G. Ballin Community Service Award in 2002. Bob served from 1993 to 2002 as Commissioner and past President of the Los Angeles City Planning Commission. He is the founding chair and current vice chair of the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley, as well as being past president of the Valley's United Chamber of Commerce. Recipient of Daily News Mendenhall Man of the Year Memorial Award, nominated 8 times for the Fernando Award, and received numerous internal organizational commendations. And I would like to commend Bob Scott, after 9-time nominee, the recipient of the Fernando Award. Congratulations. I know that it was a long time in coming, but well-deserved in all your activities within the San Fernando Valley and for the people of the city of Los Angeles, from your years as a commissioner and all the wonderful activities you do. I wanted to bring you down and formally give you the resolution thanking you and commending you, keeping up the good work and the energy and the enthusiasm, and not getting disillusioned with the bureaucracy that you oftentimes have to face. So on behalf of me and my colleagues, the mayor, our controller, city attorney, everyone, congratulations in this resolution commending you for receiving the Fernando Award. Congratulations to you, Bob Scott. Now you can say anything you want to say.
Okay.
Well, within limits.
I'm just going to say that it's been a great 35 or so years working on this, and I hope I can spend another 35 years working in partnership with the government of the City of Los Angeles. We are very proud to be part of the Los Angeles family. We have had our differences in the way we're organized and the way we do things, but we're still all very happy to be one big family here, and I thank you much. This, by the way, is the one with the most signatures I've ever seen on one of these, so thanks very much. Very honored.
Bob Scott, thank you. Thank you very much. Bob
Thank
Scott,
you.
Fernando Award. Thank you. And our next presentation goes to someone who we honored not too long ago for something different. But today, it's George Nicola, who's retiring from KNX 1070 News Radio. And if George's friends and family can please join us up here. He's been surrounded by the friends and families for many years. George Nicola was the former vice president and general manager of KNX 1070 News Radio for the past 36 years. George Nicola's leadership has won KNX more awards year after year than any other station in the market. George Nicola pioneered the news radio format on KNX, and under his leadership, the station has achieved unparalleled success by becoming one of the most listened to radio stations in Southern California. George was the only executive of a Southern California radio station to air daily editorials on community issues, and you could always make sure that George hit that target, and he had a staff that helped him do that. Every single day you were hearing those editorials on KNX News Radio. George is always open to ideas and is never afraid to try something new and different. George Nicola is committed to the community and serves on a number of committees and boards involving community and industry activities. And I would like to congratulate George Nicola, KNX 1070 News Radio, for the unforgettable 36 years of news excellence and for making a lasting mark in the industry and for all Evangelinos. And we miss George's editorials, the only station that was broadcasting editorials in this region. George Nicola, Vice President, General Manager of KNX. He's going into retirement, And George, we have a plaque for you from the City of Los Angeles acknowledging innovator, leader, legend, I like that, the legend, George Nicola. KNX News Radio, 36 years of dedication to the community, best wishes and continued success in your future endeavors, signed by all of your friends here, all the council members, Los Angeles City Hall. George, this is for you. Congratulations to you.
Let me recognize Mr. Councilmember Labange.
Thank you, Madam President. George Nicola and Betty and Ed and all you guys, Pat Smith, everybody there. George Nicola, not just 36 years, Dennis Zine, was he there, but almost 50 years with CBS. This is a radio pioneer. This is someone who brought us all news, radio in the format that we now see so often, but also the excellence that he brought us. The excellence as a broadcaster, and the hundreds and hundreds of golden mics that KNX reporters and others have received, writers, editors, over the years in bringing news to Southern California. When there's something happens, people punch into 1070, and George, you made a habit of doing that because that's where you got the information. I'm just proud to call you a friend, proud to have you as a constituent of the 4th District, proud of all the other things you've did for this city, including work with the library departments, the art community, throughout. You've always been there for Los Angeles. So I'm just so proud that you worked this tremendous career as a vice president and general manager of KNX 1070, 6121 Sunset Boulevard.
Los Angeles, 90028. There you go. We know it well. We know it well. George, the microphone is yours, and it's sad to, I know you're going to remain in Los Angeles, but it's sad to see that format change. I know there's been a format change at the station. I know the editorials are no longer being broadcast, but we miss that. And you are, as it states here, a legend in Los Angeles, a legend all of us. And you're a wonderful man, George. We respect you, and we honor you, and the microphone is yours.
Well, thank you, Dennis. And thank you, Tom, and thank all of the members of the Los Angeles City Council. It's been a long run. Before I make any other comments, let me introduce the people with us, because those editorials were sort of their responsibility too. David Asais, our editorial director, KNX News Director Ed Pyle, Executive Assistant Pat Smith, and Dottie Sharkey. And I better not forget this young lady. It's my wife, Betty, and she's been having so much fun these days with me at home. It's been a change. Yesterday I was out at TV City, and it was one member's 59th year with CBS, and there was another member who's had 49 years and my 49 years, so you had 3 of us at this luncheon with about 160 days with CBS. That's a long, long time. My years with KNX were really a very fortunate number of years because of the excellent staff that we've had at KNX. It's been an award-winning staff. It's made me, as manager of the station, very, very proud of each and every one of them. I'm going to miss being there. Today, I guess I would have been in Santa Barbara. I understand there's some action there. I won't even mention his name, but he was there, and he did appear, and it is part of the news map that we have in Southern California. I must say to all the members that have expressed their regrets that the editorials are no longer on the station, I appreciate hearing that, because we did try through all those years to present both sides of all the problems that you, as city council people, face daily. And to all of you, I wish you the very, very best in the days ahead. And once again, thank you for honoring me once again within the year. Thank you, Dennis.
George, you're very welcome. And I do have a letter that I left in my office that I will read later from District Attorney Steve Cooley commending George Nicola, and I'll read that later as before we go into adjournment. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? We are in session.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Whiteside, Padilla, 12 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. For us, another presentation, a very special presentation today, let me recognize Council Member Alex Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, as you can see, we're going to do it family style this morning. We came in a big bunch, big group here for this very, very special presentation. And I'm asking council members Villaraigosa, Cardenas, Reyes, Garcetti, and County Supervisor Molina to join me in this presentation in honor of truly a pillar of our community, not just the Latino community, but the Los Angeles community, the civil rights defense community throughout the United States, and that is Ms. Antonia Hernandez. So, I got some very scary news about a month and a half ago. I heard a vicious rumor that Antonia Hernandez was leaving MALDEF. And when my heart started beating again, I said, how could this be? In my opinion, and I think the view of so many people around the city, around this country, Antonia Hernandez is MALDEF. She has been MALDEF for so many years. And so if you bear with me, I need to read a few things off of the resolution we're about to present to her so that we all truly gain an understanding and appreciation for just the impact and contribution that she has had and given to the organization. She's been with MALDEF for 23 years. Including 18 years as president and general counsel, and through this capacity, she has allowed MALDEF to really help the 40 million Latinos around the United States of America as part of her commitment to safeguard civil rights in general, but civil rights for the Latino community in particular. She's leaving her current post to take on the leadership of the California Community Foundation, so she's not going very far. We're going to have her very close by. But a few words about MALDEF. You may not know that MALDEF was first founded in 1968 in San Antonio, Texas, by then lawyer and activist Pete Tijerina with a $2.2 million grant from the Ford Foundation. Since then, and primarily under Antonia Hernandez's leadership, MALDEF has grown to have a $6.5 million annual budget, with offices and a presence headquartered in Los Angeles, but presence in San Antonio, in Atlanta, in Chicago, in Houston, in Sacramento, and certainly in Washington, D.C. Her path to leadership of MALDEF goes by way of UCLA Law School, stint at the Los Angeles Center for Law and Justice, the Legal Aid Foundation, the U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary, and her positions within MALDEF over the course of the 23 years have included being regional counsel for the Washington, D.C. office, employment program director, executive vice president, and deputy general counsel. But she's been president and general counsel since 1985. And I think there's sort of two areas we can describe her contributions and her track record in. One is as truly being a coalition builder. She knew and has embodied leadership through coalition building, knowing that the issues important to the Latino community in the United States aren't just important to the Latino community in the United States. It's important to the African American community, to the Asian American community, the poor, people across the board. And it's only by collaborating in our efforts, collaborating in our strategy, that we can see success. And here's how I think I can describe it best. Much has been said about the Latino community's progress and gains in terms of elected officials, the number of elected officials and the percentage of representation. And while certainly there's many an elected official pushing for progress through the legislative branch, we know that there's a balance of power in our country. And the legislative branch, the executive branch, are two of the three branches, there's an important third pillar, and that is the judiciary branch. And nobody has been a stronger leader and advocate for defending and protecting our gains on the legislative and administrative side than Antonia Hernandez and MALDEF as an organization. The track record of MALDEF's involvement and fights, much more often than not successful, include the Edgewood case in Texas, bringing about equity and educational resources in that state, Proposition 187 here in California, Proposition 209, Proposition 227, including efforts in affirmative action and bilingual education. Their work in terms of census outreach has broken barriers, and certainly no redistricting process in Los Angeles City, in the state of California, can go through without MALDEF's involvement and stamp of approval. Colleagues, MALDEF's involvement now is in a number of areas, from education to employment to immigrants' rights to political access, including those voting rights, and something we talk about every day here, public resource equity. I think Antonia Hernandez's track record speaks for itself. We have much yet to hear and learn from her, but the work of MALDEF continues, and that is probably part of her legacy. The struggle isn't over. Day after day after day, we need to continue to protect and defend the gains that we've made, and certainly struggle for additional justice, because injustice continues to exist in our city, in our state, and in our country. And before formally presenting this resolution, I want to ask my colleagues to also say a few words, and then we'll hear from maybe a board member or two and Antonia Hernandez herself. I'd like to first bring to the podium the Assistant President Pro Tem of this City Council, Councilmember Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And Antonia, it's good that you're staying in this city, so we're not saying goodbye to you, but the work that you've done at MALDEF has been incredible. Here in Los Angeles, colleagues and members of the public, in the midst of winter, we've always felt the summer. We've been the envy, I think, of our relatives who don't live in a place like this, where in the middle of January we can see the sun and we can feel the warmth of the city. And metaphorically, we certainly are living through a winter right now in many ways. A study that came out last week that showed the wealth of Californians, while income disparity has lessened, you look at the wealth gap between whites and Asians versus African Americans and Latinos, it's almost 10 to 1 in this state. And when the average wealth in this state for a Latino family is a little bit over $13,000, total wealth for a family. When you look at the $200 million hole that we have in this city's budget because of the winter that we face, when we look at the struggles in public education that MALDEF has been at the forefront of, saying that every child deserves an education not only close by but within walking distance, that every child deserves an equal start in this city, we know that we are living in cold times. But the light and the beacon that MALDEF and Antonia Hernandez has been in this city, and all of her colleagues will continue to be, is nothing short of remarkable. My family wanted to pass on their felicidades to you, my sister who interned at MALDEF, my father obviously who has worked with you on so many issues. But on behalf of the city, on behalf of the residents that I represent as well, I know that we will continue working together, but thank you for everything that you have done. I know you came to MALDEF when you were 7 years old because it said you were there 23 years, so I just did the math. You must have been one of the youngest lawyers in history. But this city has been enriched by you. It has been made wealthy by you in human terms, and we will continue to fight with you, and we know that you will be there with us as well. So congratulations. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, council member from the 1st District, Ed Reyes.
Thank you, Councilman Garcetti. It truly is an honor for me to stand here amongst the giants of our community who have played such a significant role throughout our lives for our quality of life, and to have Antonia, the pillar who has carried that realm of justice for our communities for over the years. I still recall as a staff person 10 years ago going to the various functions as we fought throughout our tenure as staff and now as council member, to have such a person like Antonia to provide that guidance, and to be among these folks who represent the different sectors of government, private sector, community interests. To be here and honoring you truly is something that I'll never forget, and it's something that we hope to continue working with you. I know that in a community foundation, we have other challenges now. We have challenges dealing with housing, creating jobs, quality of life, and it doesn't stop there. So thank you for all you've done. I want to thank everybody here that's joined us to honor Antonia for such a great job, great career, and her commitment to our community. Now I'd like to pass the microphone on to my colleague, Councilmember Villaraigosa, Councilmember of the 14th District, former supervisor, Assemblyman, Speaker of the House. Did I jump?
Little slip there. Well, I'm here to give testimony that she was not 7 years old when she went to MALDEF. I worked at the Center for Law and Justice just after Antonia, and I can tell you back then she was working on the whole issue of forced sterilization of women. Before that, she was working for Senator Kennedy on immigration reform, fighting some of the most heinous anti-immigrant bills in those days. Back then, has worked on the Civil Rights Act, the amended Civil Rights Act of 1972. This is a woman who her entire life has been a civil rights advocate, a leader. Your name means incomparable or inestimable in Latin, and I can tell you that without question, you are an incomparable leader in this city, in the nation. Many people forget that when she became president, she actually was in a struggle with a former governor of the state of New Mexico, a great leader, as a matter of fact, of our community, Tony Anaya. And when she came out on top, nobody thought at that time that it was possible. And she did, because she's tenacious, because she's fierce, because she understands, and she had the energy, and people believed in her. And so for us to honor you today, Antonia, and we honor her as a civil rights leader, but those of us who know her family, her children. I was in Boston a year and a half ago, and I got to see those young children at Ivy League schools, good young children who understand their need, not just to have a great education, but to give back. That's really the story of Antonia Hernandez, a life of giving back, a life of civitas, if you will. And now she's moving on to another area, and she's going to be engaging community. She's going to be giving back in the way that she has at MALDEF, and we're so very, very proud of you. And now it's my opportunity to introduce another incomparable, Antonio Cardenas.
Thank you very much. Many of the accolades have been pointed out toward the work, the wonderful work and dedication of Antonia Hernandez. What I would like to do today is just reflect on what Antonia Hernandez means to this country and what she means to all of us as Latinos. I've often said that I've been given opportunities because I stand on the shoulders of many people who came before me. When it comes to the civil rights of Latinos, when it comes to the rights and privileges that we should have in this country as equals, it has been MALDEF and Antonia Hernandez who have fought for those rights in the courts of law and who have given us hope and expectation that we do have a voice. And one of the things that Antonia Hernandez that reminds me of every single day, she reminds me of the humility in which my parents brought to this country. You will never hear Antonia Hernandez brag about her accolades. You will never hear Antonia Hernandez talk about all the wonderful things that she's done, the difference that she's made for this country, the difference that she's made for people in their individual lives. I see Antonia Hernandez dedicating herself to her work, to her craft, with all of her knowledge and skill and tenacity, the same way that I see when people clean our yards, people who clean our homes, people who bus our tables. It's with that humility that she brings this wonderful work through the courts, that she brings her wonderful work through this organization. And with that, you're absolutely right, Alex. It was a very scary moment when we heard that Antonia Hernandez was going to change her title. But thank God, Antonia Hernandez is not going to change who she is. But I'm sure where she's going, she's going to change that organization as well. So with that, with a lot of pride and humility, I say thank you, Antonia, for all of the wonderful work in only that chapter of your life. And I look forward to a wonderful chapter to begin in your future work. And with that, I would like to give the podium to another wonderful woman, a mujer who was a legislator, a council member, and now our county supervisor, Gloria Molina.
Muchísimas gracias. It's a pleasure to join with you here at the City Council, but it's particularly fitting that the City Council honor and pay tribute to the life and the work of Antonia Hernandez. The diversity, not only that stands before you in the leadership role that we all play in our community, but more significantly, the diversity that we have here on the City Council is all a tribute to the work of MALDEF. Some of you may not have been here long ago when those challenges were before the City Council, but it was through the efforts of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund that we are now seeing the kind of diversity, not only here on the City Council, on our school boards, our state legislatures, and certainly on our county board of supervisors. And it's all a tribute to the great work that MALDEF has done through the leadership that it has. Antonia has been a very unique leader in that she has been able, as many have said, to keep this organization going. Having to raise its budget annually is a tough job for any nonprofit. But in particular, when you have the kind of challenges where you accept no government money whatsoever, you have to go out looking for private funds on an annual basis. And in many instances, the very people that you sue are the very people that you need to go around asking for money. But Antonia has had an unbelievable kind of versatility to be able to take on those kinds of challenges and to meet those goals. So it really is very sad that she's going to be leaving this organization. I think that probably one of the saddest parts about it is that, you know, this organization that really operates with very little funds, it's a national organization with offices throughout the country. It not only tackles the issues here in Los Angeles and the state, but throughout the country. Antonia has been able to motivate a whole group of young, very talented lawyers who are able to stay on this organization and who do the work, the litigation work of this organization. And I think so much of it is her ability to bring on people who are not only talented, who probably could be hired in a minute from every major law firm throughout this country, but who do the good work, is a real tribute to the outstanding leadership of Antonia Hernandez. So we're all very proud of her, as you can tell. I'd like to take a moment before we introduce Antonia to also recognize some of the people who've been a part of it. Certainly here joining us as well is Vilma Martinez, the former director of MALDEF, and now a very prominent lawyer in Los Angeles. We're very happy to have her here, sort of taught the ropes to Antonia along the way. We also have board members that it's a national organization with a national board, but many of us are from the Los Angeles area. We have Linda is a board member. Well, former board member, but she's been a board member. Ed Avila as well. And Frank Quevedo is here. Federico is here. Oh, Pete is here as well. I see Matt. And I think those are some of the board members, but all of us who are here have played a very active role in trying to make sure that that this organization continues. And one of the things that we're doing now is we're on a national search. It's going to be a tough search to find a new leader for the Mexican American Defense and Education Fund. But one of the things that we know, that Antonia is going on to new challenges. We're very excited about her new role because she knows she's going to be interfacing with many of us and trying to make all that we have throughout our state stronger and better, more diversified, but certainly that we're going to bring to it the talent, the very unique kind of dynamic leadership that Antonia brings to all of these issues. We want to wish her well. We're very saddened by her leaving MALDEF, but we're also very excited of working with her on her new challenges. So I introduce to you our great leader, Antonia Hernandez.
Supervisor, before we hear from Antonia, we have a few more council members who would like to speak. Let me recognize Council Member Wendy Gruhl.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to rise as with my colleagues and Supervisor Molina and so many friendly faces we haven't seen in a while here in City Hall who have been so supportive of not only you, Antonia, but so many of the issues that we care about in Los Angeles. And I just have to add, too, that everyone who's been talking about your national importance and your local impact that you've had, and I've had the pleasure of working with you throughout my career. And you were someone who was a little bit larger than life to me when they would say, well, you need to talk to Antonia. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, she's going to grill me on this. She's going to be supportive. But you were one of those individuals that throughout my career has been extraordinarily helpful and always a voice of reason, also a voice of challenging this city and this nation to do the right thing and to be that voice for people who did not have a voice in Los Angeles and across the country. And as my colleagues have said as well, we all were a little bit frightened when we said Antonio's leaving MALDEF and what are we going to do? And of course the next breath was she was going to be running the California Community Foundation, which is just extraordinary, and you're going to use all of your experiences to be the most wonderful leader of that foundation and to use it as a catalyst to make change. And so I just want to thank you. It's been such a pleasure dealing with you in your current position. I know that we will continue to have that relationship and friendship. And to all of the individuals that are around her and the leaders who have been so supportive and have been members of the MALDEF family, thank you. And thank you, Antonia. We are just thrilled that Alex and my colleagues decided to honor you today as you go into your next endeavor. So congratulations.
Councilmember Perry.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Antonia, many have cited your accomplishments and your body of work, and it is tremendous and exceptional. But I want to say something a little more local about you. I know that we're all acutely aware that this is a woman, and I'm telling you this is a woman and a role model for all women of searing intelligence. Her intelligence is like a laser. It is so searing, so focused, and so on point. A woman of relentless passion for the issues. She is an advocate, bar none. She raises the standard far beyond the likes of which I'm sure most of us have ever seen. Your work on the census, which I personally experienced, probably saved our region and our city in the sense that we got counted to the extent that we did to continue to get the federal dollars that we need to be able to provide a minimal quality of life for the people that we're all here to represent. And for that, I know we should all be very grateful. But more than that, your passion, your love, and your commitment to helping people all over the city and all over the United States has been awe-inspiring and a lesson in academics, intellect, and compassion. And on a smaller but also significant note, your work in the historic core. You have transformed the building in which the offices of MALDEF sit. You have made that a significant piece of real estate and investment in our inner city, worthy of our celebration now and in the future, because you have helped to stabilize an area that had long been forgotten. And that building, the tenants in that building, the nonprofits, that all bears your mark. That is evidence of your commitment to our city as well. And I want to personally say thank you and look forward to working with you at the California Community Foundation. Thank you.
Councilmember Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am very pleased, too, that I have the opportunity, along with my colleagues, to stand up and honor you today, and to stand up and congratulate you for your incredible accomplishments over the years and protecting the civil rights of so many in this country. But I must say, on a selfish note, what a great thing it is that you will be focusing right here in Los Angeles with the California Community Foundation. And we all know this, but this is why I feel like your role is so important now. We are facing, I think, some of the toughest times we have ever faced. I know Supervisor Molina knows that in terms of the kinds of budget cuts that the county has to make, the kind of budget cuts that we at the city have to make. The money is not going to be forthcoming for the very people who need it the most. And the California Community Foundation, with your leadership and with your keen intelligence, will be able to funnel money to where it is most needed. Just recently, the foundation announced about $1 million worth of grants going to nonprofit organizations that deal with health care, that deal with education, that deal with housing. And that is what I think we are all going to be having to work harder on, because those who most need it, I'm afraid, will fall through the cracks of the budgets of Sacramento and hopefully not at the budgets here locally. But we depend on you, we're counting on you, and we know that you will really help serve those who most need it and I think are in big trouble as we go forward in 2004. So congratulations, and anything we can do to work with you, we're happy to. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Labange.
Thank you. I just want to echo what everyone else has said, but I also want to say what someone did say. This is a tremendous picture of leadership around one person who had the ability to open her arms real wide. Gloria talked about the fight of 87, was it, on the redistricting or whatever it was, when all of a sudden the first district came down the Glendale Freeway and came into Echo Park, and all the other issues. But it is tremendous. But that aspect is a tremendous testament to people who have a heart as you do and that you've expressed it. And I'm so happy that you spoke of when we just bumped into each other, even though we didn't know we were both at the same spot together, honoring someone else who also had a great heart. And then I'm so happy that you're going to be right close to us here at Union Station in the new building that you're building to be all part of Southern California. So we're at a great gain for this, and I want to congratulate you, Antonio, for all your success and future endeavors too. Thank you.
Thank you. Antonia, now it's your
And
turn.
before we let Antonia speak,
No,
and before we let Antonia speak, a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to recognize some other individuals who are here, not board members, but big supporters nonetheless. I saw Monica Lozano back here from La Opinión and now Impremedia too. Frank Quevedo from Southern California Edison, Peter Villegas, Washington Mutual, from the San Fernando Valley, Blinky Rodriguez, Communities and Schools, and Neil Dudovitz from what was formerly known as the San Fernando Valley Neighborhood Legal Service. It's now a bigger name with bigger responsibilities, and many other friends. So we apologize we didn't introduce everybody. Angela Zambrano from Carecen, but clearly, as Mr. Labange said, the cross-section of leadership throughout Los Angeles, throughout our community, all here because of one lady, Antonia Hernandez. And as I present to her this resolution from the City of Los Angeles on behalf of the entire council, our mayor, our city attorney, our controller, we also have some beautiful flowers for a beautiful lady. We want to say thank you, congratulations, and ask her to please share a few words.
Thank you. Well, I must say that this is quite unusual for me, the attention on me, but it's only in America that a body that we sued many times will come and honor an institution, and yours truly. And I do really want to thank you. And I guess, you know, for me, the most important thing that I want to say is that I'm an immigrant. I came to this wonderful place in 1956, and my other name is the unofficial Chamber of Commerce for Los Angeles. I think this is a wonderful place with many opportunities, and that it's complex, it's messy, but there's no other place in the world like it. And for me, it's going to be a wonderful challenge to begin a new phase of my career working with the California Community Foundation to truly work with you. And I will have now an opportunity to work with you on housing, affordable housing for the poor, health services, and all the others. So I will be seeing more of you and of this body in my new endeavor. And a couple of comments about MALDEF. In Antonia Hernandez, it is MALDEF, the institution, and a lot of wonderful committed individuals who work for the institution. And what I always said to my adversaries, I said, it's nothing personal, it's to make you better in spite of yourself. And so, when you see us suing, when you see us coming in, it's because MALDEF stands for one basic thing. It's to making closer to reality the ideals of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights for all Americans. And I can tell you that MALDEF will continue to be that vehicle. and that I will pledge to work with you in my new endeavor. And thank you, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. Antonia, this body that you have sued would like to request a picture with you and the board and the city council members and our controller, Laura Chick. So if we could take just a moment and ask Mr. Butcher to arrange this picture with you and the city council, we'd appreciate it.
What did they say, Alex? What am I supposed to do? Oh.
Yeah, take that with you.
Let me announce that there is going to be a reception behind the council chambers, so those are here for Antonia. You can exit through this door for a reception in the next room over for those who've been here to honor and thank Antonia. And then as soon as the crowd clears, I will recognize Councilmember Perry for our final presentation today.
Oh, but we'll share with
You stand up there, like you have never been on television before, right?
Not in these circumstances. I'll
Okay,
tell
and I
you.
know Tom Labonte is going to be very excited.
How's it look? Okay.
Okay.
Can you believe that?
Larry, you want to stand up here too?
I've got a spot on my
Again,
tie.
if I could ask those who are here for
Orlando
the
and family,
reception
Do you want to bring the baby or you stay with the baby? Okay.
to move to the
Okay, great.
executive room.
We got a certificate, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Certificate for having the baby? Yeah. Okay. City rewards those good things.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Perry.
I have some of my favorite stakeholders from the 9th Council District here with me today, Larry Adamson, Orlando Ward, and Mrs. Orlando Ward, and Xavier, their newly born child who is asleep, and another treasure, Mr. Dick Van Dyke. And if I know Tom Labonte, he's barely able to contain himself, and will say something very special in just a minute. But Mr. Van Dyke is a beloved entertainer of television, film, and stage. And while Mr. Van Dyke is best known for his work on stage and screen, I asked him to come in today to celebrate and recognize a different role that he plays in his life, and that is the role of quiet philanthropist. A little while ago, Mr. Van Dyke was invited to the Midnight Mission by Larry Adamson to serve Thanksgiving meals. And I have been told that since that day, the Midnight Mission and supporting the Midnight Mission and participating in the life of the Midnight Mission has become one of his most favorite activities. He is a regular, and I'm saying regular, not just on the holidays when the cameras are there. He is a regular volunteer at the mission and is its general campaign chair. Besides serving meals and helping those in need, with his celebrity status, he brings awareness to the needs of those that he serves. In fact, he came to testify recently at the Housing Committee, speaking on the value and the importance and significance of the expansion of the mission in the Skid Row community. And now this expansion is becoming a reality. Next Friday, the mission will break ground on its newest project. And I wanted to say, and I hope he'll say a few words about that, but I wanted to say personally, and on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, thank you to the Midnight Mission, to Larry, to Orlando, and thank you, Dick Van Dyke, for helping the Midnight Mission achieve its worthy goals. And I'd like to ask for him to say a few words.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is a nice surprise. I didn't know until a few minutes ago why I was here. I thought we were here to talk about the budget. I wanted to thank Councilwoman Perry, whose presence is always in evidence down at the mission. Thank you so much for your involvement over the years. I guess most of you know, or I hope you know, that we are breaking ground for the new mission next Friday, the 23rd, down on San Pedro. And it's the result of many, many years of evaluation and assessment of what the needs really are to arrive at where we are today. The only thing is, like everything else in life, the future came ahead of schedule and is now upon us. So we have really a pressing need for this new mission. You know, when the mission opened its doors 90 years ago, it opened to the Skid Row that we all know. A lot of old codgers like me, you know, down on the luck, burned out, some alcoholics, and that was about it. Today, the average age that I see down there is around 32, 33 years old. Kids who have been on the street since they were in their teens and don't know how to do anything. Can't write a check, don't know how to get a driver's license or a job. And most alarming, what I have seen over the years is the alarming growth in women and children coming down. This is what's heartbreaking. That's the responsibility that the mission was not set up for. You know, feeding 1,800 people a day and putting a lot of young men back into life. But this is new. Now we need classrooms, we need medical facilities, there's so many things. And beyond that, not just meeting the barest subsistence needs, but getting these men and women and kids back into the community, back into life. And that's where we are right now. I must tell you how proud I am of the people I work with down there. These guys and women give it everything they have got every day to help the people who look to them for help. Those on the council, I thank you so much for coming down. I am proud of them, and I am so proud to be the campaign chairman. And I'm really happy about the throngs of supporters and admirers who showed up for this award.
Thank you. Let me recognize Councilmember Labange.
We'll see you on the 23rd.
What's your profession, Dick? You're pretty good with that microphone. No, I think it's wonderful first and foremost, colleagues, that we have a council member like Jan Perry who works her district real hard with its most severe challenge, more than any of our other districts. And I think, Jan Perry, I want to thank you. I love you. You're a very positive force in Los Angeles on that.
Sorry, Bridget.
And a lot of the other younger members are out, so they may not remember Mary Tyler Moore and you and the Dick Van Dyke Show in the 1960s, but there was nobody could enter a set like Dick Van Dyke when he walked in. Missed that one couch as you came down, and then that music and
I can still do it, only now it hurts.
Oh, right. But Dick, thank you, because I know of your involvement in our city, but your involvement in the mission. And as you expressed, I worked 28 years with the city of Los Angeles when most of the people were older gentlemen who were down on their luck, who had a problem with an abuse of a bottle. But now it's a wide variety of people, of ages from all over, people from all over, and children. It's so tragic that it's there. But then behind you stand two tall men, one taller than another, one who's not going to get much sleep now with his new baby there. But both of you gentlemen, the efforts that you have done to help do this, I want to just salute you. And also, too, in this great city of ours that has a lot of people in the show business. You're in there all the time, Dick, which is so important. And I thank you, and I admire you. And then people that we don't know, who may not even care who we are, will benefit by what all of you are doing, and I stand to help you, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Jan, if it's okay, come in your district Friday morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to rise. I wondered too why you were here. I leaned over to Tom and I said, "What's Dick Van Dyke doing here?" And he said he's here on a street vacation. So I really am very pleased, and I just wanted to stand and say thank you, Dick Van Dyke.
Thank you.
Thank you for using your influence. Thank you for using your name for good. And I think that's all we all have in life is our name and our own particular sphere of influence. And we have a choice to either use it for good or not. And you've chosen to use yours for such a good. And I also want to commend my colleague, Jan Perry, as you said, who really has taken this huge challenge on Skid Row, huge challenge, with problems that sometimes seem insurmountable, but you've never given up. You want to solve those problems. And as we celebrate Dr. King's birthday, that dream that he spoke about, that dream that he was committed to, there's so many people whose dreams are not happening for them because of their circumstances. So what you've done is beautiful and wonderful, and I just wanted to stand and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gruhl.
I thought the flowers were for me.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just wanted to also stand and congratulate you. So many celebrities do not utilize their status to help people. You have throughout your career. And as someone, Jan Perry and I worked together when I worked for Mayor Bradley on the homeless issue and how important it is, and I spent many a day and night on Skid Row, and how your influence, your commitment is going to make a big difference on Skid Row and to the many homeless who are often forgotten. People in the city think we don't have a homeless problem, but in fact we do. And it's just often hidden. That is what homeless individuals do, is try to hide from society and the public so we won't know that they're there. And we need people like you who say, these are people who have a heart and a family and need our assistance. So I want to thank you for your leadership. It goes a great deal to not only the city but across the country, your impact. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Zine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Van Dyke, I grew up with you as a little child.
That's funny. I didn't grow up.
Well, I remember the lead into the show where you trip walking in. I don't know if you could do that for us today, demonstrate that.
No, then he'd sue us.
I remember that for...
Dennis, we just had Tom demonstrate
Oh,
it.
Tom demonstrate. I didn't see that. I was doing something else.
He is real old there.
Yeah. I remember all the laughs and all the comedy and all the wonderful things you have done. And every time there's a holiday season, the newscasters show you serving food to the homeless. There's no question that Jan Perry and her district tried to make a tremendous change, and the homeless population is continuing to grow. Your efforts obviously are recognized and duly respected, and it's something that we need to address. And just driving into City Hall this morning, there are homeless between Sunset Boulevard on Spring Street and the Federal Building. I mean, the population is growing under the freeway, bridges, et cetera. So your commitment, your compassion to this is recognized. I just want to join my colleagues in recognizing, commenting on that. But I remember as just a little kid watching the shows for all those years, and then the shows as they continue and you watch the reruns. But you are still a man who can carry on and do positive things. And the influence that you've done has been tremendous. I respect that, honor that, and continue on with that. And Jan Perry is a wonderful colleague to work with in the council capacity. I came from a law enforcement career where we really try to help people, and the homeless population is really gotten so bad in this city. So keep up the good work with it, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Thank you, Dick Van Dyke.
We're now going to take a picture. Let's go take a picture.
Where do we go take the picture? Makeup.
Here's your bag, Dick.
I'll get those. I'll get that, Dick.
All right, council is in session, and we do have an agenda. Our quorum has been called. We are going to begin, before we go through the agenda items, with the public comment period. We have a number of public comment cards, and so, Mr. Clerk, would you please set a 15-minute public comment period, and let me call the speakers to come forward. All right. First will be Deborah Duvall. Then we have Daniel Weissman. Mr. Labange, we're going to begin public comment. First will be Deborah Duvall, then Daniel Weissman, followed by Arthur Hansen. Ms. Duvall.
Good morning, council members. I'm Debbie Duvall. I'm a stakeholder in the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. I'm the Council District 6 representative on the Citizens Unit for Participation Board. I'm a member of the Delano Park Advisory Board. I volunteer with the LAPD out of Van Nuys with the community surveillance team. I've been involved with the Targeted Neighborhood Initiative, the Neighborhood Block Grant Program. I sit on the Van Nuys Community Court Citizens Advisory Board, and I'm an almost nearly lifelong Van Nuys resident. I'm here today to speak of the derailment of the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. On Wednesday, January 14th, yet another planned special meeting of the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council failed to reach a quorum. One board member had resigned earlier in the day, and later that evening, 2 more board members resigned, making it mathematically impossible for a quorum to be reached. I believe this destruction of the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council was the design of one particular stakeholder with the complicity of the project and senior project coordinators of Dunn, and the slate that they recruited and railroaded into office. In the 11 months since the first election of the certified Van Nuys Neighborhood Council, nothing has been accomplished in Van Nuys by the Neighborhood Council. Indeed, many formerly active stakeholders stopped, particularly as a result of the election process, the lack of regularly scheduled meetings and meeting places, the minimal notice of special meetings, and/or the ability to reach a quorum. All projects to improve Van Nuys have been done through our council offices and members. District 2, Council Member Wendy Gruhl, District 6, Council Member Tony Cardenas, and the residual effects of the efforts of Cindy Misikowski. They've been done through the Van Nuys Community Court, through the Neighborhood Block Grant Program, through our senior lead officers, through the efforts of the Knights of Columbus and the YMCA Wise Men, particularly through the efforts of Candido Mares, the Volunteer Center of America, our 2 park advisory boards at both Van Nuys Recreation Center and Delano Recreation Center, our Van Nuys Homeowners Association under the leadership of Don and Prudy Schultz, and the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. It took me a long time to accept the disembowelment of the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council because I had been involved with it since its inception. On Wednesday evening, before the two board members resigned, I proposed that we look into decertification and start the formation committee of the greater Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. This past year has certainly been a learning experience for Van Nuys stakeholders, and I know we will have a new, effective, representative neighborhood council up and running in a very short time. We have learned not to trust our done project and senior project coordinators. We have learned that we must mandate openness and transparency of all our actions, that we must regain the support and trust of our stakeholders, and that we can finally get back to outreach in our community. I look forward to standing before you in the very near future to announce the certification of the Greater Van Nuys Neighborhood Council and to tell you of its accomplishments and its future projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Weissman, and we're going to try to limit the public speakers to 3 minutes each if we have a number.
I'm a fine one to tell that to. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'd like to address my comments to Thomas Gruhl. He's not here right now, but Thomas is our real object. We need to work for the future, and Thomas is our future. You just heard one of our most eloquent, one of our most concerned, one of our most involved Van Nuys Neighborhood Council people telling you about our difficulty in Van Nuys. Now, Van Nuys has been made the poster boy for problems with neighborhood councils, and I've spoken before you on several occasions. We're still a problem. Every council is going to be a problem. I'm going to offer you a solution at the end of my comments. I hope you'll accept it. Is there a member of the mayor's office represented here today?
Don't see.
If not, I'm sure this, even if there isn't, I'm sure this will also go to him. The mayor, of course, is responsible for Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and for their role with the neighborhood councils. It's the focus of our problem, in my opinion. The events that you've heard about of last Wednesday night weren't just Wednesday night. They've been going on for over a year in Van Nuys. They are being paralleled in every neighborhood council in the city. As Dennis Zine and Greg Smith know about the West Hills problems. They're better because of their efforts and because of the efforts of many. They're not solved yet. Those of you who know about Arroyo Seco know about its problems. Those of you who know about the Bel Air, Beverly Crest issue, which is about to come before you, and with your permission for extending my comments now so that I don't have to talk again in the Bel Air, Beverly Crest. That is the issue of their president, Steve Lukasik, who resigned because he found that working in the structure that we have established for neighborhood councils was too difficult. In his words, exhausting. That was reviewed at the Education and Neighborhoods meeting last Tuesday, as Ms. Hahn and Mr. Zine and Mr. Villaraigosa well know. They asked Mr. Nelson to come forward and explain what was going on, and Mr. Nelson said, nothing's going on. We're doing fine. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. We're good people. Well, he's one of 3 presidents who have resigned. Mr. Charles Gramer of the West Hills resigned over an issue related to not only offices and leases, but several other issues. Ms. Tisha Bedrosian from the from Grassroots Venice resigned. Now, we have to look at more than the resignation of presidents. We have to look at the attitudes of board members in every neighborhood council and stakeholders in every neighborhood council. I'm a stakeholder. I'm not a board member in Van Nuys. I'm a board member in another council. But every member of this city is a stakeholder. We've chosen that word stakeholder. We borrowed it from the corporate world where they use stockholders. Well, a stockholder has a definite investment in the company. Well, every stakeholder in every neighborhood council has a definite investment in their neighborhood council, and in their city. And we need to redefine that word stakeholder. It's a buzzword right now. It's a word of problems. But if we define it in terms of investment in your community, in a better way than we have now defined, we're going to find our stakeholders are more effective, and then we can respect them. We need problem resolution in this city. We need it at every level, and I speak most fervently for it in the neighborhood councils.
Mr. Weissman, can I ask you to sum up, please?
I'll do my best, thank you. We need a definite, and this is my conclusion and my suggestion, so I'll try to make that at this time. We need the mechanism for resolving differences. The neighborhood councils are going to be contentious. They're going to be hotbeds of democratic activity. I now learned from Antonio Hernandez that the best way to get your attention is to sue you. Well, stand back, folks. Here we come. Maybe you'll get some suits. If we can get your respect that way, we can even get some proclamations to put on our wall. No, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the way. The way is for us to establish mechanisms by which we can resolve our problems. Perhaps the Human Resources Commission can help us. I've recently become interested in the Qualities and Productivities Commission. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we looked at the qualities and productivities of our actions at all levels? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could find ways in which when two agencies disagree with one another over some issue, there's a way of resolving their differences to the
Mr. Weissman,
hopeful
I am going to
satisfaction
ask
of
you to
both of them.
conclude.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am asking you fervently for the 7th time, and I'll be here again for an 8th time if necessary, and 9th and 10th, to have a formal, complete, public review of the relationship between Dunn and the neighborhood councils. I will not fault Dunn completely. I will not fault the neighborhood councils completely. We need to review this process. It's time. We need to go into the way in which we are working with one another and make it better. You have my complete and the help of everyone that I've been talking to in this process. I'm not a single individual speaking just from my point of view. I represent many of the agencies you've heard about. Please come forward, have a public, complete review of the relationship between Dunn and the neighborhood councils. Thank you so much for hearing me.
Next speaker will be, and again, I am going to have to start limiting people to 3 minutes or less, so please be concise. Arthur Hansen, Raymond Yu, Nadine Diaz.
Yes,
Mr. Hansen?
I'm a 26-year City of LA employee and a 50-year resident, or a little over 50 years. I was laid off by Water and Power for complaining about some safety issues. I was reinstated. Water and Power was supposed to pay General Services $10,000 in my medical expenses. They did on December 17th, however, they put it in the wrong account, so it can't be touched. And incidentally, that was the same day that I made numerous safety complaints. And then I got transferred downtown here to work nights, presently doing inventory work and scraping off the stair treads. The city pays me $60,000 a year for that. My job that I was doing is being done by an elevator mechanic that's cost about $65,000 a year on the day shift. And they hired a guy that gets about $65,000 a year on the night shift out of the hiring hall to do his work. That's $70,000 that the city doesn't need to spend, and I'm doing work that somebody would be doing being paid $30,000 a year. So anyway,
Mr. Hansen, your time is about to expire. All right, thank you. Mr. Yu?
Good morning. My name is Mr. Raymond Yu. I am the student at Rio Hondo College, but I have something to say. On April 2003 last year, when I was on North Broadway in Chinatown, I saw the Bureau of Street Lighting dug the hole for the new street lamps on the mid block of North Broadway. They will replace on September, but now I couldn't come to Chinatown yet because why? When I was in Chinatown, I saw the North Broadway signal lights intersections in Chinatown, like on Alpine College and Bernard Streets in Chinatown. The old traffic signal mask arm post was here, but they haven't removed it yet. They have to remove it immediately while under construction. The construction should start on January, and the completion date could be end on June. Full operation is July, but I want the Board of Public Street Lighting and Transportation Engineer to replace the new model traffic signal mask arm post should be attached to the new decorative street light for 30-foot street lamp post. The street lamps has to be match the same, but not different. It has to be the same with the new 30-inch street lighting attached with the mask arm on North Broadway in Chinatown, and they have to upgrade the newest model traffic signal light that will have a left turn with a green arrow on it on North Broadway in Chinatown.
Thank you, Mr.
replacing
Yu.
the new LED pedestrian signals and traffic signal light in North Broadway and Hill Street,
All right.
Chinatown.
Thank you. Next will be Nadine Diaz, followed by Maria Medina and Miguel Angel Perez.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilor Misikowski.
Nadine Diaz.
Good morning, City Council members. My name is Nadine Diaz, and I'm a CD14 constituent. I'm also a graduate student at the USC School of Social Work. For the record today, I would like to announce to you that the USC School of Social Work graduate students are in 150% support of Save Our Garden at 41st and Alameda. We are working collectively with the people in the community and with other universities such as UCLA, Cal State LA, East LA College, all the community colleges. It's very imperative that we realize that if we displace the gardeners and the farmers who have been there, it's like taking the food from the mouths of their children away. We need to work together and to collectively come up with a plan that is most conducive to the families who are there. Secondly, I'm also a member of the City of Los Angeles Land Use Coalition, which is a group of community members, business people from all over the city of LA who are concerned about land use and how it's used in our great city. Secondly, we would like to know more information about Concerned Citizens for South Central LA. Because it is a nonprofit 501c3, by law, the City of LA Land Use Coalition would like some documents. These documents are legal and are open to the public. Such documents as 1, statement of activities, 2, statement of financial position, 3, statement of cash flow, 4, statement of functional expenses by both functional and natural classification, and number 5, their 990 form since they became a nonprofit. And lastly, I'm also a vice president for the California State Central Committee, Assembly District 46, Speaker Fabian Nunes, and the members support the gardeners. And we will be there, and they are not moving anywhere.
Maria.
Lastly, I would like Mrs. Medina here is a farmer and a gardener. She speaks Spanish, so I would like Councilman Reyes to translate in English.
Ms. Medina.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María Josefina Medina. Yo les agradezco por el tiempo que nos están brindando a nosotros, los jardineros y campesinos de su centro de Alameda y 41.
Los va a traducir el señor. Gracias.
Mi nombre es María Josefina Medina.
My name is María Josefina Medina.
Lo único que nosotros pedimos, los jardineros
The only thing that we're asking the gardeners
y campesinos
and farmers
que nos ayuden
to help us
a mantener nuestro jardín abierto.
to maintain our garden open.
La razón es esta.
The reason is this one.
Nuestra ciudad de Los Ángeles está contaminada.
Our city of Los Angeles is contaminated.
Hay tantos problemas para nuestros hijos
There are so many problems for our children
en sus pulmones
in their lungs
por el aire.
because of the air.
Nuestro jardín tiene aproximadamente unos 500 árboles
Our garden has approximately about 500 trees
que nos ayudan a purificar ese aire.
that help us purify that air.
Y lo triste para nosotros es que nuestra misma ciudad de Los Ángeles nos quiere matar esa parte de pulmón para nuestra ciudad.
And the sad thing is that our city wants to kill that part of our lungs from our city.
Cuando estamos buscando vida en otros planetas como Marte,
When we are looking for other life, like in other planets like Mars,
y aquí tenemos algo de vida y nos las quieren quitar.
and we have some of life here and they want to take it away.
Lo único que les pido es la ayuda de todos ustedes, los concejales,
The only thing that I'm asking is the help of all of you, the council people.
porque supuestamente ustedes son representantes en el gobierno para que nos ayuden.
Because supposedly you are the representatives of the government to help us.
Y eso es lo que pedimos, ayuda.
And that's what we are asking, help.
Thank you. Oh, we're going to ask you to conclude.
Gracias.
Miguel Ángel Perez, Jose Aguilar.
Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, City Council, Los Angeles. I represent the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Alliance, which supports and works with the agricultural workers that are speaking today. It is very important and imperative that a commitment and a continuous support of local green and gardening spaces are very critical to the overall health and well-being for all of the city members and constituents and residents of Los Angeles. It is important to understand that the individuals that have been working very hard to keep a food bank and feeding the family and themselves, and a commitment to continue to do so is ongoing, and it is very, very strongly supported by many organizations that is growing. I must add, in a conclusion, to think and remember that every meal, all of us and yourselves that enjoy the fruits and vegetables that we eat, they are planted, tended, picked, shipped, and served by hardworking, dedicated agricultural workers. This is for the record. It is very important that we work together to build within all districts here in Los Angeles for the support. One other item I'd like to mention, since I work and also represent the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Alliance in CD 14, the example of our city councilman, Mr. Antonio Villaraigosa. Kudos to him for the great leadership and example in the city of Los Angeles, and our sincerest gratitude for the hard work in establishing the public green space park, the Ascot Park, with 100 acres for the community of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jose Aguilar, who will be followed by our concluding speaker, Candido Mares.
My name is Jose Aguilar. I'm a friend of the farmers on 31st and Alameda. First, I was very touched with the presentation of MALDEF and all the discussion of humility. I hope you provide the same respect to these farmers, these peasant farmers, that we are honored to have in our city on 31st and Alameda. I hope you respect their dignity. I hope you respect the fact that they make a living on that property. And I hope that you respect the fact that we need open spaces in Los Angeles. And I'm very upset that the city of Los Angeles can even consider throwing out these peasant farmers out on the street, getting them out of their property that they worked there for 8 years. I'm going to read something from this pamphlet that you all will get. Local farmers have been working on Lot 1 for 12 years, the second lot, 8 years. This is a very long period in time, in reality, of years. Every plot has been invested with great effort to make them productive. This has included the introduction of organic matter, fertilizers, fencing, diversified seed stock, and most importantly, hard labor. Up to this point, no farmer was informed of the true fate of his or her small productive garden plot. Why has our representative representative democracy ignored the investor of 360 farmers and their families? That's the question that I pose to the City Council. I also would like to say to Antonio Villaraigosa, the United Farm Workers helped in your campaign, and I hope and pray that you will help these farmers, these peasant farmers on 31st and Alameda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mattis.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Hahn and you, council members, for the proposed budget, the consolidated plan that hopefully will take place. The increase for the San Fernando Valley from 9% to 25% is greatly needed, and we appreciate that. But we also have to remember that the San Fernando Valley is part of the greatest city in the greatest country in the world, the city of Los Angeles. And we must make sure that there are other parts of the city that get their fair share of those consolidated federal fundings. The other item is the public service cap. That has been reduced from 25% to 15%. We must make sure that the programs such as LA Best, we don't realize what we have in LA Best. It is probably one of the best preventative programs that we have to keep our kids out of gangs and other issues like that. But again, we must make sure that that funding that's going to be lacking in the gap from 25 to 15% is not lost. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mattis. This concludes public comment for today's meeting. Mr. Clerk, next order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Ms. Gruhl moves and Mr. Villaraigosa seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Zion moves and Ms. Hahn seconds.
Before beginning the regular agenda, Mr. President, there's been a request by the Planning Department to continue item 4 for 1 week to Friday, January 23rd.
Okay. Members request to continue item number 4 for 1 week. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, item 4 is continued. We also had a speaker card or two on item 4 from Joyce Dillard. Please be advised that we are not considering or acting on that item today. Next item, please.
Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing.
And do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on this item. Public hearing is open on item number 1. Public hearing is closed. Members wishing to be heard, Ms. Gruhl.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to receive and file this item.
Colleagues, motion to receive and file item number 1. Is there any further discussion? If not, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on receiving and filing item number 1. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Item 1 is received and filed. Next item, please.
Items 2 and 3 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Members, public hearings have been held on items 2 and 3. A motion from the floor would be required to reopen the public hearings. Mr. Cardenas?
Yeah, I'd like to hold item 3 special.
3 called special by Mr. Cardenas. Leaving item number 2 before us.
Mr. Padilla, I believe that Mr. Weiss wanted to continue item 2.
Okay. Motion to continue item 2 for what period of time?
1 week.
1 week. Is there any objection? If there's no objection, then we'll continue item number 2 for 1 week. Item 3 has been called special. Next items, please.
Items 5 through 12 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Without objection, the council shall consider items 5 through 12 from today's agenda and do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items, satisfying the public hearings. Members, do we have any requests for specials, items 5 through 12? 5 through 12. If not, then Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on item number 11. Next item, please.
On the continuation agenda, item 13 is an item for which public hearing has been held, and amending motion 13A has been distributed to all members.
Okay, colleagues, item 13 now before us. Public hearing has been held. We have an amending motion. Anybody wishing to be heard on item 13 or call this matter special? Mr. Parks.
Number 10, forthwith.
Forthwith on number 10. Item 13 is currently before us. Let's open the roll on 13A, which has been circulated. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And with that amendment being approved, please open the roll on item 13 as amended. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on item number 7 as well, please. Next items.
Items 14 and 15 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
And again, there are no speaker cards on these items. Public hearing is satisfied. Request for specials, Mr. Zine?
On item 15, Mr. President, receive and file. The matter has been solved. So receive and file, please.
Okay, we have a motion to receive and file item 15. Mr. Labange?
Yeah, I'd like to ask that item number 14 be sent to Housing Committee for work between our office and CDD, please.
Okay, is there any objection to item 14 being referred to the Housing Committee? If not, item 14 is so referred, and we have a motion to receive and file item 15. Please open the roll, please close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That item is received and filed. Next item, please.
That takes you back to the item called special. Item 3 was called special by Councilmember Cardenas.
Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say that I support the creation of the LA Education Coordinating Council and a special education unit in the Department of Children and Family Services. At this time, I'd like to ask some individuals to come up, Miriam, and perhaps other individuals who might be here, maybe some of the board members, to make a brief presentation.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here today and actually to be here on an item that I don't believe will evoke the sorts of passion or disagreement the last time I was sitting in this seat, but it's my pleasure to also have with me Jacqueline McCroskey, who's a member of your City Commission on Children, Youth, and Families. I'm here today to talk about an issue that's of grave concern to all of us, the question of the educational needs and the broader needs as well of the thousands of youth in our community that all of us collectively parent when we remove them from the custody of their parents. We know all too well that we're not doing the type of job that we need to be doing as communal parents of these children. The studies tell us that of those youth who we take into our foster care system, half of them are held back in grade, over a third of them are in special education, and nearly half of them will never graduate high school, and as few as 15% of them will ever enroll in higher education. Now, I think those are the types of figures that all of us, if we were talking about our own children, would be very dismayed by. And all of us as a community, as we collectively parent these youth, need to be equally dismayed. It's not surprising that with those sorts of educational challenges, what we see as these youth reach their adult years is a less than promising adult future. Within their first few years after aging out of our foster care system, over half of these children will be unemployed, 1 in 4 will be homeless, and an astounding 1 in 5 will be in custody within their first few years after emancipating. My organization, the Children's Law Center, serves as the voice in the foster care system for over 20,000 young, abused, and neglected children. Or as was put by Councilperson Gruhl earlier, we are the voice for those who all too often don't have a voice of their own. We try to help them, again, as was referred to earlier, fulfill their dreams. It's become clear to us that school stability and school grounding is one of the most critical things that we need to ensure that they're not put on the type of adult path that we currently see. Too often what we see instead is children who move from placement to placement, school to school, are out of school, are misplaced in school, and don't receive the type of education that our own children are entitled to. It's no wonder that they therefore check out and spiral into a criminal justice system that I spent 15 years as a federal prosecutor coming to know too well. It's therefore the responsibility of all parts of the government, our city, our county, our schools, our child welfare departments, our probation departments to attend to these needs. This is not simply a county issue, and it's not simply a school issue. It's a public safety issue, it's a health issue, it's a homeless issue, and it's an issue of broader morality. It's become clear to us that one of the biggest challenges we face in Los Angeles is that we have many governmental entities and silos that attend to the educational needs of these youth. And as a result of a convening that was held last May that's referenced in the motion, there was a recommendation made that we create an intergovernmental, interagency body to bring people together and serve as the glue between the courts, the schools, the city, the county, all parts of our system to attend to the educational needs of these children. So we ask you today to join with the others who have expressed their support for the creation of an Education Coordinating Council, the LA Unified School Board, our Work Investment Board, our Community College Board, your own City Commission on Children, Youth, and Families, the county, and others who have enthusiastically embraced the need to create this type of an oversight group that can pull our system together and do better. We have to turn the corner in terms of the educational needs of these children, and this is a significant first step in that direction. And I'd now like to ask Jacqueline, on behalf of your City Commission, who they have been actively involved through their staff, through Commissioner McCroskey, Commissioner Sharon Watson, in supporting and helping craft what this group would look like and bringing it to you today.
Thank you. I'm not only a commissioner, I'm also a professor at the USC School of Social Work, and I'm the John Milner Professor of Child Welfare, so the issue of abused and neglected children is probably the one that's the closest to my heart. And thinking, as Miriam said, about the multiple institutions that interact with these kids who are probably our most vulnerable, you realize why in Los Angeles it's so complicated and so difficult to get people on the same wavelength. When we had the first discussion at the Commission on Children, Youth, and Their Families, the question was, why does the city need to play a role in this? And the answer is that the city provides a very broad array of services for children and their families, and they may or may not notice that some of these families are foster families, that some of these kids are in families that are at risk, at least, of abuse and neglect. So we have after-school programs, for example, that the city funds and helps to provide. We know that there are certain schools in LA Unified that have disproportionate numbers of foster care kids, but we don't know whether we are putting any attention to the after-school needs of those kids at those particular schools. We provide a broad array of services for at-risk families. Do we target? Do we look? Do we even know which of those families have children in out-of-home care or at risk of it? We prosecute child abuse cases. We do a very broad array of things across a number of departments, but we don't do it with any eye to coordination for these children who are most at risk. And last time I was here, I was talking to you about the data book that the Commission on Children, Youth, and Their Families put together, so I had to, of course, bring it today. And by my quick calculation, although the City of LA accounts for about a third of the kids in the county, it accounts for 40 to 50% of the kids in foster care. So there's a disproportionate number of children in foster care who live in the City of LA. The City of LA has an array of resources, even in bad budget times, that we are spending on services for kids and families, and I think we have the opportunity to really focus those resources in a much more effective way by joining with the county, LA Unified, LACO, the Community College District, and a number of other entities that are very concerned about these kids.
Thank you very much for that testimony and bringing that issue to light here. Colleagues, anybody wishing to be heard? Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. I heard this in our Neighborhood and Education Committee last week, and I am very supportive of this idea. And it clearly, you're hoping that it's not just another organization that, gets together and doesn't do anything. But I don't think that's the case. And I think if this can help one child from falling through the cracks, then it is worth our support and is worth our resources. And I do believe, even in tough budget times, we do have resources here in the City of Los Angeles, which if we believe they can be used higher and better, then that's clearly what we want to do. I supported this in committee, and it's clear that we all serve the same constituency. We all serve the same children. So I think this is a good idea. I think this is the right idea. And let's hope that this coordinating council really does keep their focus on our young people and really keep our focus on keeping them from falling through the cracks. So thank you for your leadership on this.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. I'd like to recognize Mr. Reyes.
First of all, I just want to thank you for all your good work, your hard work. And you made a point. You described that even in hard times, the City of LA has resources. In the spirit of coordinating, understanding how we can be effective, is there any literature or any way in which you can map out where those resources are from your point of view? If you have that ability, it would give us, I think, as a body, an understanding of, as we start making decisions, what the impact of when we make those hard decisions, what that will do to other kinds of programs. So we might not see the domino effect if we impact that one source. So that's the kind of information we should have as we go through these hard times.
In fact, that's the next item we're going to bring to you is an inventory of all programs run by all departments in the city that affect children and families. So we can start looking at them as a whole rather than as separate units of individual departments. And that'll be very soon.
And one other element that I know it's out of your realm of work, but I believe is interrelated is the discussion of land use. When we talk about how we start putting together facilities,
yes.
We have state laws, we have city laws that were put in place over time. Because of the crunch that we feel from the budget cuts, and plus the pressures that come from living in very dense areas, how we look at our physical environment, our built-out environment, I think is crucial. If there are ways in which we can be strategic in how we place housing together with schools, housing with childcare, housing with job training programs, there's another reason why we should be doing that kind of work as opposed to just looking at increased traffic, increased impositions. Neighborhood council should understand that if we have these type of programs, it means relief both physically and socially for those neighborhoods, because those neighborhoods are the ones that are suffering the most. They contain the highest level of populations of these young people that are suffering in the ways in which you've described. There's a level of information and education needs to occur at the neighborhood council level, at the level in which impact my colleagues when they're going through land use decisions, because it speaks to how we change the nature of our communities. Yes. And we have to start connecting the two because they're very relevant from my point of view.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this? If not, can please open the roll on this, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that is, I believe, note and file. And thank you very much, Miriam and Jacqueline, for your service. Next item, please.
That clears the agenda items for today, Mr. President.
Okay, do we have any housekeeping?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those items are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused to leave at 11:15 on Friday, January 30th for city business, meets council policy.
Okay, Mr. Cardenas is excused.
Councilmember Padilla requests to be excused on Friday, January 30th for personal business. A motion is required.
All right, Mr. Ludlow moves, Ms. Hahn seconds.
Councilmember Perry requests to be excused on Friday, January 30th and Friday, April 30th for city business. A motion is required.
Okay, Mr. Reyes moves and Mr. Villaraigosa seconds.
That does clear the desk, Mr. President.
Okay, colleagues, any announcements? Now it's time for announcements. Mr. Labange.
In the interest that we do not have a team in the National Football League, I hope we all cheer for the Philadelphia Eagles, which are led by Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a young man who grew up in Los Angeles, went to Franklin Avenue, Thomas Starr King Junior High, and John Marshall High School. He was the ball boy when I was a senior in high school for our team, and I eventually did get to coach it when I coached high school football for about 6 years. But Andy Reid and the Philadelphia Eagles are the team we should be cheering for this weekend as we celebrate the conference championships, and one day hope that we can get the National Football League and two teams back here to play in the Coliseum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Mr. Ludlow.
Council member. Just wanted to encourage everybody to come out Monday and celebrate the Great King Parade. Kingdom Day Parade will kick off at 11 o'clock down King Boulevard, and it's a great event every year. Many of you are undoubtedly going to be in the parade. Also, later that evening, the SCLC is going to have their annual King Dinner at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, and I know that Harry Belafonte is going to be honored that night, which is going to be a real great honor. And then just the acknowledgement this morning, Bishop Charles Blake did a phenomenal discussion about the AIDS pandemic at this morning's YMCA King Breakfast. And so there are a lot of festivities, a lot of activities taking place in honor of King Weekend and King Week. And I want to just say thank you to Reverend Norman Johnson and everybody at the SCLC that's been working so diligently to make this a real special and classy weekend and a series of activities. So come out, come on, come all, enjoy the parade.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Ludlow. Any other announcements, colleagues? Mr. Parks, you have an announcement?
Chair, just one announcement for tomorrow. It's January 17th, 12:30 to 5 p.m. For Washington Prep High School, 10860 South Dinker. They will have a jazz at the Prep, and there'll be a number of artists, local artists. Ernie Andrews, Barbara Morrison will put on a very special event for the community.
Thank you very much. Any other announcements, Mr. Zine?
Mr. Speaker, President, Chair, I want to get them all included at that time. During the presentation this morning, I made comment about Mr. George Nicolau, who retired from KNX, and a letter from Steve Cooley that my office received, and I wanted to read that. I said I'd read it into the record. This was from our District Attorney, Steve Cooley. Mr. George Nicolau. Dear George, your sudden and regrettable departure as Vice President and General Manager of KNX-AM is a huge loss for both journalism and the body of politics in Southern California. For 36 years, your on-air editorials, equally fair and informative, set an unparalleled radio standard that will long be remembered. I'm among legions of others urging the new KNX management to continue your strong commitment to editorials and news coverage of local public issues. Every best wish, Steve Cooley, District Attorney. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other announcements?
One more announcement.
Yes, Ms. Hahn.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to announce that it's always nice to give honor to whom honor is due. And this morning I was able to participate along with some of my other colleagues in the LA County Federation of Labor's Martin Luther King celebration, where they honored one of our colleagues, Martin Ludlow, as one of the 2004 warriors who is out there fighting for equality and justice for all. And it was very much a pleasure. It makes you proud when one of us is honored somewhere, and his speech was absolutely inspiring and rousing. And if we could get a copy of that, I think we would all benefit from listening to that. And just to say again, on the King Day Parade on Monday, be looking for the three wise women to be riding together. Councilwoman Perry, Councilwoman Gruhl, and myself, the three wise women, will be riding together in a car in that parade. And I understand that the Grand Marshal of that parade is Martin Ludlow, and I also understand, rumor has it, that he will be riding on a horse in that parade. So it's something for us to all come out and celebrate. Thank you.
We haven't seen a council member on a horse since Nick Pacheco was in his charro outfit at the Mexican Independence Day Parade. I think rebuttal time is permitted by Mr. Ludlow.
Greg Smith just wanted to point out that one of the little ponies, Shetland ponies.
Come see Mr. Ludlow on a pony ride. Yes, Mr. Lavange.
President, I'm sorry, but you didn't introduce your guest, did you?
Oh, yes. I have two guests today who are here. It's Tiffany, right, and Brian from St. Teresa of Avila on Glendale Boulevard in Silver Lake, and want to welcome them, and glad they can be with us here in Chambers. I also have one announcement for this weekend.
I can make a correction. It's in Atwater Village, it's not on Glendale Boulevard, but it's on Boyce Street. Is that correct? Boyce.
You're right.
Okay,
sorry, I was thinking the other high school.
I used to live across from it, so you know.
I guess. And the other announcement I'd like to make is our Alliance of Citywide Neighborhood Councils will be having its meeting, regularly scheduled, 9:30 at Los Angeles City College. We'll have Wendy Gruhl speaking there, and Laura Chick. Of course, this is always an open meeting to all our neighborhood councils or interested parties, so come on down tomorrow to Los Angeles City College, 9:30. It'll be going on all day to the Citywide Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. If I can please ask everybody to rise for adjourning motions. Mr. Parks?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Charles Dennis Reese. Charles Reese was born in Dunbar, Nebraska, March 1927. He joined the U.S. Navy in 1944, served his country in the Philippines. In 1954, he moved to California and joined the Los Angeles Police Department, where he rose through the ranks and attained the rank of deputy chief before retiring in 1980. Charlie had a reputation of being a cop's cop, which is the highest compliment for a staff officer. After retiring from LAPD, Charlie Reese worked for 6 years in corporate security for Getty and Texaco oil companies as an executive investigator. He loved fishing, photography, music, and being with his family. He's survived by his devoted wife of 58 years, Florence, and a host of family members. We'd also ask that we adjourn in memory of Dolores Rozan Wright, who is the aunt of my Chief of Staff, Joseph T. Rozan, Jr. She was an activist for the youth and community and was affiliated with a number of organizations, the Catholic Youth Authority, the CETA program. She serves on the board of directors of the South Central Los Angeles Athletic Club, Charles Drew Head Start, Mothers the Sons of Watts. She also served on the Watts Labor Community Action Committee Board and the Kedron Community Mental Health Center. She was instrumental in obtaining bus stops, railroad crossings, paved streets for both Watts and the city of Compton. She was born March 8, 1921 in New Orleans, passed away at the age of 82 on Friday, January 9th. Funeral services will be held Saturday, January the 17th. She survived by 3 sons, 12 daughters, 35 grandchildren, 29 great-grandchildren.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Ms. Perry?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to second that motion with Mr. Parks. I have 2 adjourning motions. The first is in memory of LaShawn Lionel Dry. He was born October 14th, 1992, and was a student at Victory Baptist Church. Lionel passed away tragically on January the 7th at 11 years of age. He was loved by all who knew him and was known for his enthusiasm for his studies. He was driven by his desire to one day be a fireman. Lionel will be greatly missed by all of his family and friends. His services will be held Saturday, January the 17th, 2004, Victory Baptist Church, 4802 McKinley Avenue. He is survived by his mother, Sherry, brother, McQuail, grandma, Robbie.
Thank you.
The second, this is my final one. The second adjourning motion is in memory of the mother of a fellow I think we all know. Memory of Betty Leonard. Betty Leonard passed away on December 22nd, 2003. And we all know her very special son, Gary Leonard, a photographer, a published photographer, an activist, staunch advocate on behalf of his community. She was known for her political activism, and I'm sure that's where Gary learned it. She always fought for what she believed in and taught her children to show respect for others. Gary, her son, said he learned the importance of being sensitive to all people from his mother and attributes his own political activism to her. She protested the Vietnam War at the Century Plaza Hotel with the group called Another Mother for Peace in 1968, one of the first protests of its kind. She raised 4 children and was a loving housewife and mother. She was known for her intelligence and commitment to her family and friends. She is survived by her husband, Dr. Robert Leonard, her children, Gary, Rick, Joan, Susan Wolfstieg, 8 grandchildren, and was recently made a great-grandmother with her first great-grandchild. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Yeah, all members on that, and I think many of us know Ms. Joan Leonard as well from her work here in City Council. Ms. Hahn.
Colleagues, I'd like us to adjourn today in memory of Terrell Darius Shirills, who was killed last Saturday a victim of a terrible violent crime. He was only 18 years old. He was born June 21st, 1985, and he was the oldest of 10 children in the Sherrills family. He attended Bourbon Day High School right here, and he was a new student at Humboldt State University. His family fondly remembers him as someone who saw the joy in all things, and regardless of what the circumstance was, they said he always would find a way to bring laughter to it. He is survived by his parents, Akila Sherrills, Michelle Caldwell, and his brothers and sisters, Jessica, Christina, Jamie, Sasha, Reginald, Courtney, Angela, LaShawn, and Hilton. His death is a terrible reminder of the violence that so often is still happening on our streets and in our neighbors. And to take someone like this at such a young age, who yet had an opportunity to realize his dreams, should make all of us really commit to making our streets safe. There will be a memorial and a celebration of Terrell Darius Sherrills, and a rededication to the Passage to Peace project will be held Saturday, January 17th at 2 o'clock at the Agape Church in Culver City. And the family has asked that if anyone wants to make a donation in his memory, to have it be made to Community Self-Determination's Institute Passage to Peace Project, which is an organization whose mission is to redirect the energy of violence and destruction towards peace, creativity, and productive construction.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Labange.
Yeah, members, Mary Seitz Adams lived to be the wonderful age of 86 and passed this week. She was a very prominent member of our community and a great supporter of the Los Angeles Children's Hospital. She also had a wonderful family, 3 children, her son Peter, and some of you may know her daughter Eileen Adams, who was the Consumer Affairs Director for then Governor Gray Davis, and also worked for President Clinton in the Justice Department, and also Mary Adams O'Connell, who is very involved with Children's Hospital now and sits on their board. Miss Mary Seitz Adams had 4 grandchildren. A wonderful person who contributed greatly to Los Angeles, and her legacy lives on with all the work she had done for the Los Angeles Children's Hospital. I ask that we adjourn.
Let's do all members.
Let's go all members.
Let's do all members on that. Mr. Zine.
Mr. President, I'd like to also be on the adjourning motion for Chief Reese, Charlie Reese, that Councilmember Parks read. Request to adjourn in memory of Don Reed. Don passed away December 15, 2003. Don Reed passed away on December 15, 2003 of cancer at the age of 88. He was a resident of Tarzana. Don was a retired radio news reporter and United States Air Force major in World War II. Produced and narrated the early 1950s police drama Night Watch with the late Max Schumacher, and was the last helicopter reporter on KABC radio. In 1959, Don moved to KMPC Radio as a field and traffic reporter, winning the Golden Mike Awards. He retired from KMPC in 1986, and he taught broadcast journalism at Santa Monica College. After retiring, he informed friends that he had interviewed President John Fitzgerald Kennedy before he became president. He was widowed twice, to Edith, who passed away in 1973, and Sharon in 1989. He is survived by a family friend, Richard Lefevre. May Don Reed rest in peace.
Yes, Mr. Labange.
Don Reed, back when he was on the radio in Los Angeles, there was very few news programs, and he had Don Reed's Nightside, where he would work all night long in Los Angeles and then give the morning report on what took place. And it was always some tragic story or some very good, joyous story that he would cover. And I remember those impressions of Don Reed, Nightside, and then they would go back into that. So may he rest in peace. There's been a tremendous amount of people who've contributed, like Don Reed, to Los Angeles. So God rest his memory. Thank you.
Schumacher, who was a member of the LAPD, he went on to fly helicopters and give news reports. He passed away. His son's a member of the California Highway Patrol, but legends in the media broadcast here in Southern California. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Wishing you all a good King Day. I'd like to have Brian say something.
Mr. Kirk, can you please call the roll?
And Tiffany?
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.